Order up! Welcome to a brand new episode of the Order Up Podcast, wherever you may listen to your podcast. Of course, I'm Terry Williams. Thank you so much for checking out the 20th episode of the Order Up Podcast. Thank you so much for following me on this journey of me creating a podcast for the past 19 episodes. Well, let's get into the 20th one. So I was deciding on what I want to talk about for the 20th episode. NFL free agency is actually wrapped up. I'm pretty sure it's done by now. I think there might be like some loose ends being picked up. There's some XFL players are still being picked up around this time, things like that. There are also some people who haven't picked up yet, like Cam Newton, Jameis Winston are both still on the market. I think that David Clowney's still on the market. So NFL free agency is still kind of sort of happening, but the blitz of the first few days and the first few weeks are actually over. So we're going to talk about something that I was, I wasn't really excited about. A lot of Chicago fans wasn't excited about, and you probably know what I'm talking about just from that statement, is that the Bears traded for Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Nick Foles. And initially when I got the news and I saw it, I wasn't excited about it. It wasn't that pop, you didn't get that excitement, that pop. I was like, oh, okay, I guess, like Nick Foles, really? But, just kind of after actually a few weeks and almost a month of kind of free agency now being over, just kind of got a chance to sit back and kind of think about it, thinking how Nick Foles actually might be a really decent pickup for the Bears in the long run if you really think about it. But let's kind of go over Nick Foles' history. So in Jacksonville, he got hurt like last year. Before that, he signed the highest contract. He was like the highest paid contract last year. Free agency was $88 million. And he pocketed $31 million, I think is what he got guaranteed, and he had to play for the rest of it or something like that. But it was $88 million last year in the 2019 free agency, which is insane. You kind of knew he was going to get paid after he decided to leave Philly, just come off a Super Bowl win, come off a Super Bowl MVP, You kind of knew Foles was going to get paid. But it was a lot of money at Jacksonville, and Jacksonville thought, hey, he's going to be, they got rid of Blake Bortles, they got through that, so now we're, they're moving on to an actual quarterback who actually get the ball down the field. They had Leonard Fournette. They still had some of the pieces from the defense. Jacksonville was looking like, hey, they're going to turn the corner. I don't know if it's the first, I think it was the first series or I know it was the first quarter at least. Like within like the first maybe 10 minutes of the game, Nick Foles got hurt last year, broke his quarterback and broke his collarbone and actually was out for 11 games, which is insane. Just thinking about that. They paid him all his money, and now he's gone. And so they were kind of, Gardner Minshew came in, really he injected life into that offense, into that team. He really carried them. The Jaguars had a pretty mediocre year last year. Nick Foles came back, didn't win any of those final four. He didn't win any of the 4 games he started. So I think they knew that they could move on for it. And Jacksonville's having a lot of turnover too. So the Bears the Bears who need a quarterback, if you're not from Chicago, if you don't know the Bears situation, they drafted Mitchell Trubisky a couple of years ago, the 2017 draft. Yeah, it was the 2017 draft. And they drafted him second overall. That's a whole other podcast I can get into. And, they traded up to get him, gave up draft stock, draft capital, whatever you want to call it, picked him. He didn't play until midway through his rookie year, 2018. He got to play a lot of games, led the Bears 12-4 record, got into the playoffs, won the division. They got knocked out in the wild card round by Nick Foles and his Eagles, So, yeah, it was kind of crazy just to see what just kind of what happened. So everybody had high hopes for 2019. He regressed. Mitch regressed. The Bears went 8-8. They were third in the division. They didn't look like they had an identity. They couldn't get the running game going. There's a lot of stuff happening. But they really figured that they needed to make a change in the quarterback position. They had to do something. We all know it. We all knew it. Like Mitch needed, either he wasn't going to be a star. Like they were going to give him another go maybe, but they were going to bring in somebody. They're either going to draft a quarterback. They're going to bring in somebody to really push Mitch. And there are rumors of Andy Dalton. Personally, I wanted Andy Dalton. I am a Bengals fan. I wanted Andy Dalton because I figured he got a lot of his best years were used up in Cincinnati with Marvin Lewis. That's a whole other podcast I can get into. But I like Andy Dalton was on the table. Of course, Cam Newton was on the table because he wasn't going to be in Carolina. There was a couple other options. And the Bears went with Nick Foles. They traded Nick Foles for a compensatory 4th-round pick that they were awarded by the NFL. So they traded that pick to get Nick Foles for Jacksonville. But they had to restructure his contract, which is crazy for Nick Foles, all the money he was going to make. But they restructured his contract, And I guess I haven't actually read the article about like what they restricted it to, but they had to get some value out of Nick Foles. They had to change that deal so they still had money to pick up other players. Nick Foles was down with it because he knew he probably was going to be the starter in Jacksonville. Matter of fact, he knew he probably was going to back up Gardner Minshew because Gardner Minshew was probably going to be the starter going forward in Jacksonville. Just the team kind of rallied around him and just the fans rallied around him, and Nick Foles was kind of going to be the outsider in that organization, in the quarterback room. And so the Bears got Nick Foles, and they actually said that they're going to be open. There's going to be an open competition between him and Mitch, and hopefully Mitch is in the in the film room as we speak. Like we'll look at that film, and maybe even though we're all quarantined, maybe he's throwing around a little bit, watching as much film as possible, getting help, like doing whatever he can so he can be ready. If we have football season, he's ready to go. But I didn't want to talk about Nick Foles because the more I kind of was watching some other videos about Nick Foles and what he brings to the table, the more excited I got about him, just from a quarterback standpoint. Because the best quarterback that the Bears has had talent-wise still is Jay Cutler. We all know, we all accept it. Jim McMahon won the Super Bowl, but in terms of pure quarterback talent and arm strength and arm talent, it was Jay Cutler, and we all know it. Jay Cutler didn't really have the personality, but he had the arm talent. Jimmy McMahon got the ring. Jay Cutler was a talent. If we somehow could put those two together, the Bears would probably be a lot better off. And also, I was thinking, like, everyone's talking about Nick Foles. Nick Foles isn't that old. He's 30. He just turned 31. So, I mean, he's coming off that collarbone injury, which sucks. That's probably that's one of the negatives about him might be his health. But, he's come off some injuries here and there. He's very inconsistent. Excuse me, like his time in Philly his time in Philly that he spent was his best time in the NFL because he spent 5 years with Philly as a whole. He was drafted by him. Actually, I can go through his stats and look at it real quick. So yeah, so he was drafted by Philly. He was with Philly for 2012, 2013, 2014. Got let go. Was in St. Louis for a year, or the Rams when they were still the St. Louis Rams. Got let go there. Picked up by Kansas City for a year. Got let go there. Then was in Philly for another 2 years, which when he won the Super Bowl in 2017, and then 2018. Yeah, he won Super Bowl in 2017, and 2018 is when they had that pretty deep playoff run. They got knocked out by the Saints, I believe. Yeah, it was the Saints. And then of course, 2019 he was in Jacksonville. Saw how that fell apart. But he's only 31 years old. Like he's not. Barry kept making it seem like he was so old. And I'm like, he's 31. That's not bad in terms of quarterback years. Tom Brady's fucking 42. Like, come on, y'all. Let's be real. Let's be honest. Like, Nick Foles is not that old in terms of quarterback. Yeah, he's been banged up, but he's not that old. Let's, call a spade a spade. And he has, decent, he's been very inconsistent, like, in his play, which is why a lot of people were thinking, oh, he's going to the Bears. The Bears are doing it again. But the Bears do have some things in place. Really, they need an offensive line. Really, in all honesty. But Nick Foles could actually be the thing that the Bears need. Because he's kind of sort of familiar with what the Bears are running. Because Matt Nagy's under the Andy Reid tree. Damn it, I can't think. Fuck, I can't think of the coach in Philadelphia right now. I can't think of his name right now. But he's also under he was also under the Andy Reid tree. Excuse me. So something that Nick Foles is familiar with. Trey Burton in Chicago, who won the Super Bowl with him in Philadelphia with the Philly play. So you have that familiarity. They brought in another tight end in Jimmy Graham, who's older, which they gave him a lot of money. But if Jimmy Graham is motivated, maybe we can get some decent production out of Jimmy Graham. But I do feel like Nick Foles does fit the Bears scheme. And it's so funny how when the Bears traded Jordan Howard, and I was mad, I was pissed about them trading Jordan Howard. They only got a 5th round pick for him. And everybody was saying, oh, Jordan Howard doesn't fit the system. He doesn't fit the system. He doesn't fit the system. And we didn't have a running game last year. And now people are disappointed that we got Nick Foles. But Nick Foles fits the system. He's what the quarterback that they need for their system. And no one's talking about that. Which I think is kind of weird that, people were so like, oh man, Jordan Howard. And Jordan Howard was actually working on his hands in that offseason before he got traded. But Now we're gonna say, oh, Jordan Howard didn't fit the system. Oh, he got traded because of that. We trust him, but we bring in a quarterback who fits the system, who has won in the past 3 years, who has won Super Bowl, MVP, may be inconsistent in terms of his play, but maybe he has to fit the system. He is a system quarterback. He might not be a dynamic quarterback where he just go in and just take it over. And I don't know how many quarterbacks are actually that dynamic, because you need a system to be successful as a quarterback. You need pieces around you. It's not like the NBA where it's 5-on-5 and you can just kind of freestyle and do what you want. In the NFL, you do need a system. You need players around you. You need pieces to actually make it work. And I don't know how many quarterbacks, like Peyton Manning has two Super Bowl rings with two different organizations. But the first ring was him. The second ring was more Denver's defense. And we all know that, because it's very hard to be a dynamic quarterback to just go into a new system. Like, they have to change the system modifier for you. So Nick Foles is going into a system that he is kind of sort of familiar with. Like, the terminology is different, but he already has a star wide receiver in Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, Nick Foles, hashtag 7-Eleven. That, I think that's going to be a very dope connection. You do have Terry Cohen. You have, David Montgomery. They just need, if they get their offensive line together, they might, the Bears can have some fun. Their tight end room is dead. They have like 6 tight ends in that room right now, which is insane. But you have familiarity. Your defense, is gonna be ridiculously good. Especially they got another year on the Chuck Bacano. If they get another, they gotta get a strong safety to go next to Eddie Jackson. They gotta get a corner outside of the other side of Kyle Fuller. You get the 2 spots. Buster Screen was a dog at that nickel corner. So, and you have Khalil Mack, you have Akeem Hicks, who was hurt, who's hopefully can get back being healthy. You brought back Danny Trevathan, hopefully he gets healthy. Roquan Smith. I forget who they signed in free agency. I can't think of his name. The other edge rusher they brought in to be on the opposite side, Khalil Mack. The Bears defense can be really legit, especially under a second year of Chuck Pagano. He gets to tinker everybody. Eddie Goldman gets to come back healthy. Bilal Nichols. So the defense, I'm not really worried about, but all eyes are on the offense, and really because the Bears. A lot of people saying their wide receiver isn't that good, but the Bears wide receiver, Nick Foles, will have his weapons that he has as of right now. You have Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, Jimmy Graham, Trey Burton, who he knows Trey Burton. He has Allen Robinson as one. He has Anthony Miller in the slot. I'm saying you give Javon Wims, they might pick up another wide receiver, but I would give Javon Wims a chance at it's X, Y, and Z. I forget what the other outside wide receiver number is or letter is. But if you because Javon Wims is kind of like Allen Robinson, big and speedy, kind of a jump up and get it guy. The wide receiver room isn't that bad, But you do need Anthony Miller to take a step. He just needs to stop game begging pregame, and just needs to stop talking and just kind of get his head on straight. But I think Anthony Miller can be dope. But I think Nick Foles could be a very good piece to the Bears. And just, you get some consistency. You get someone who knows what he's doing. You get someone who's not. And like, I thought Nick Foles was like 35, 36. He's only 31. Come on. He has probably, if he stays healthy, another 5-6 years in him if he stays healthy. But I want to talk about, I want to look at Nick Foles' stats, which I looked at. So we looked at his time in Philly. So this is all 5 years. Nick Foles threw for 8,703 yards, 58 touchdowns to only 23 interceptions. That's actually pretty impressive for a completion rate. His time in Philly as a whole, it was 62.9, so about 63% on his passes. Even in Jacksonville, even though he didn't throw a whole lot, like he completed 65.8% of his passes in Jacksonville, but he only threw for 736 yards in a QB of 3-2 touchdown interception ratio in Jacksonville. And I think he has a shot to be. He doesn't have to be elite, but if he's good, if we get good Nick Foles could really be something special for Chicago, and maybe he could just give the Bears that boost they need. And Mitch, and a lot of the stuff isn't Mitch's fault. It's not his fault. He was drafted at second. It's not his fault. His coach hasn't really built an offense for him. they've kind of just like, oh, here's what we're gonna do, figure it out, instead of like doing what Mitch does best. That's not Mitch's fault, but his decision making, his overthrow, his underthrow, his progression, not looking off defenders, all those things he can control. And I don't think his preparation has been the best, personally speaking. Like, he can't control the offensive line, but I got a blitz coming. I got to hit this hot read. I got to get the ball out of my hands. They're trying to force everything deep. His decision making, he can't control. He can't control a lot of the outside things. But the more I read about Nick Foles, the happier I got with Nick Foles, the more I felt like Nick Foles could be something special for the Bears. They're probably going to draft another quarterback. A lot of people have been saying Jalen Hurts. If you check out my Jalen Hurts podcast, Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts is the next, or who I think they might draft. So yeah, so that's my take on Nick Foles. Thank you so much for checking out this brand new episode of the Order of Podcast. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video or next podcast, wherever I post this. Later.